Alright, next up on the list for our Bigwigs walkthrough is going to be Halls of Valor from the Legion expansion. So we will go through all the bosses and the trash, and as a preface, the things that we're mostly looking for are just abilities that we want to change to be notified for, whether they target us specifically or apply some kind of debuff, need to be dispelled, interrupted, things like that. And then every boss, we want to try to find one ability that we can enable a countdown timer for to just help us recognize some kind of specific ability or pattern with the boss when he does damage or things like that. So first up, we have Hymdall. And we have Dancing Blade, which is just going to be a swirly on the floor. Don't really need to be notified of this necessarily. We have Horn of Valor. This is like the main healing ability that we're going to need to be aware of because he does unavoidable group-wide damage to everyone. And then this also follows up a lot of movement, so it's important to get the group topped up before the next set of abilities comes out. So I would say Horn of Valor is what we're going to want our countdown for, just to know, hey, when this countdown starts going off, you need to make sure that the group is nice and topped up. And then Bloodletting Sweep is going to be the big tank hit. Don't really need to be aware of that, but what I will do is change the color of the bar to a nice yellow, so that we can be aware of that. And then for the Horn of Valor, we'll go ahead and make that bar red. And that way I can look at my Bigwigs timers and just see those abilities upcoming. Next up, we have Hyrja. So for this, we have basically the frontal, which is the Shield of Light. We're definitely going to want a frontal sound for this. For all my frontals, I use the Retro 190 sound. So it sounds like that, and it just tells me that the enemy that we're fighting is doing some kind of ability in front of them, and I should watch out. Next up, we have, let's see, Arcing Bolt, Expel Light, Sanctify. Don't really need anything for these. I guess for Expel Light, we can make it only when on me, and then make the sound the Press Your Defensive sound, which is 183. Other than that, though, don't really need to worry about too much else. So I think Hyrja will leave mostly alone. Don't even need to enable like a countdown for it or anything. If anything, we'll enable a countdown just for the Shield of Light, since we don't have it set up for anything else. And then Fenryr, we have Unnerving Howl. This is the interrupt, and it does does it do damage or does it summon adds? I don't remember. I think it just summons adds. No, it definitely also does damage to you when he does it. But we're gonna have the Claw Frenzy. This is the split damage that he does all around him. This is what we're gonna have the countdown set up for. And then Scent of Blood only went on me, and we want that to be like a runaway sound.
Run away, little girl. Run away.
And then we have Ravenous Leap. We can have that also only went on me, and then have that be the Press Defensive sound, which is 183. And then I think that's it. We already set down a countdown, right? Yep, for the Claw Frenzy. All right, cool. And that's all good for Fenryr. Next up, we have God King SKOVALD. And we have Savage Blade, which is a big tank hit. Don't need to worry about that. Ragnarok, that's what we'll set our countdown for, so that we know when to press the shield if we're ever tanking, or if we end up holding the shield for whatever reason, or just so that we know that's when we need to be ready to be behind the tank, or whoever has the shield. Then we have Fellblaze Rush. We will have this only when on me. And then we will enable the sound to be the Press Your Defensive sound. Because in hierarchies, it's very important that you press a defensive button when this targets you, otherwise it will one-shot you. And then Infernal Flames, don't need to worry about that. That just summons adds. So very easy for God King SKOVALD. Next up, Odyn. We have the Runic Brands. This is going to be where he makes us go to one of the runes on the floor. Don't need to worry about that. It has a very long cast time, so we can just see that happening visually. Radiant Tempest, I believe, is when he grips everyone underneath him and then does the giant AoE stomp. We're going to want a countdown for this just so that we know when that grip is coming, so that we don't get gripped into orbs or gripped, you know, unexpectedly and stuff like that. And then don't have to change the sound or anything, just need a countdown for it. And then we have Spear of Light that just spawns the spears that throw the balls, and then the Shatter Spears is the one that's going to be much more dangerous, so we can set this to something like... probably won't change any of the sounds for this either, for the Shatter Spears. So I think we'll just leave it like that. I think just having a countdown for Radiant Tempest is good enough. Cool. So next up, we'll go to Trash. With Auto Talk enabled. Thunderstrike from the Valor Thundercaller. We want this only when on me. And we want to have it tell us to press a defensive, so 183. This hurts a lot in Hyrja. Lightning Breath is a frontal, so we'll enable the frontal sound. Then we have the Stormforged Sentinels. They do the Charged Pulse, which is just the big AoE stomp around them. They do a Protective Shield, which is a Purge, and then they do Crackle. Don't need to worry about any of this stuff. Valor Mystic is going to do Interrupts. Don't need to worry too much about this stuff. I'll probably just set up an interrupt sound for the Holy Radiance, because that's the more important ability to interrupt. Because if this goes off, there's no way of stopping the healing, whereas if the rune goes off, you can just kite them out of it.
Interrupt.
We'll interrupt that. Cleansing Flame. Mortal Hue on the Shield Maidens. That's a frontal, and it's very deadly, and it's already killed me multiple times. So we will enable the 190 frontal sound for that. Then we have the Aspirants, Blast of Light. That's another frontal. So this will also be a frontal sound. Then we have Eye of the Storm, Sanctify. Don't need to worry about those. Penetrating Shot is a frontal, so we will enable the frontal sound for that. Rumbling Stomp. That's like an AoE around the bowls. Hopefully we just never pull those. Bear Traps. Unruly Yell. That's going to be an interrupt. But it can overlap because you can fight two of them that are doing Unruly Yell, so I'm just not going to set a sound for this. And then call Ancestor, so we will ignore that as well. Cool, and I think that's it for Halls of Valor. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. We just have 2 dungeons left to go.